For the first time in more than 5.5 years, we finally tonight have a few new answers to a question that has loomed over Indiana and over the town of Delphi. Who killed Abby Williams and Libby German?
From the end of the bridge to, you got to go through. Now, I believe that the bodies were found about 50.
Born from a family's grief and determination. In April of 2020, Army soldier Vanessa Guillen went missing while stationed at one of the largest military installations.
You hear that little music in the background that goes, "Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious."
Right.
Knew about it or was there. He's as guilty as the person who committed
Chilling
it.
details in the arrest of a suspected serial killer caught before he could strike again.
Him, they dropped the ball, man. Like they said, he went AWOL, and that he was a deserter, and nobody went to look for him.
Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder.
Like I said, we're going back. We were asked last time to kind of talk about the food, the grub truck video, and kind of give our perspective of it. The press release from the police department, it indicated that they're still trying to put pieces together from that night. Does that worry you at any point or at any bit that they're still trying to put those pieces together?
It's been over 5 weeks since little Kaylee Anthony vanished. Her mother, Casey, has been arrested for lying to police. She's being held without bail.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to The Drunken Turkey Show, your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to The Drunk Turkey Show. I'm your host, Daniel J. And alongside with me, as always, my buddies, my pals, my comrades, Big Blue and Jaime. How you doing tonight, guys? We'll start off with you, Jaime.
I'm doing a lot better than I was. I'm still not at 100%, so I probably won't be sticking with y'all through the whole stream, but I'll do my best.
I appreciate that. Big Blue was here. He just got beamed up into outer space. Hopefully he'll be coming back here. I know you're not feeling good. You're not going to be drinking with us tonight. I know Big Blue is off. He will be consuming alcohol. We'll be watching him. Hopefully this time he doesn't get cut off. I too will be consuming a little bit of alcohol. However, guys, I'll be honest with you. I'm watching my figure, so I got a little bit of Bud Light next. 0 carbs, 80 calories. I've never had one of these. Let's try it out. I'll stick to regular beer. This tastes like crap.
All over the screen.
Dude, that really is bad. It is what it is, but damn it, dude. I was really hoping this would taste good. It says super crisp like beer, and this does not. This tastes like freaking sprinkling water or whatever you want to call it. Oh, man, this is disgusting. Looks like Big Blue is going to be making his entrance back tonight, y'all. I want to say thank you guys for everybody that's in the live chat. And I want to say thank you guys for getting us to 30K. We're about to hit 31K. I appreciate every single one of you guys for doing that. We truly do appreciate you guys. Big Blue, thank you for joining us back. What are you consuming tonight? I know you're drinking a little bit.
Yeah, tonight I'm drinking a little bit of it's Frutas Frescas cranberry pineapple passion fruit is a juice with strawberry pineapple mango peach chunks with a little bit just came out of the freezer, so it has ice, enchanted rod vodka.
Nice, man, nice. It sounds like a pretty solid mixed drink there. Let me know how it goes down, man. Let me know how it goes. We have a special 3 guests that will be joining us. A podcast that myself and Blue joined, what was it, like last week sometime? We talked about Idaho. We talked a little bit of Delphi. There are our friends from Criming Shame. We have Sunny. We have Aspen. And we have Alexa, who is a criminal profiler who will be deep diving with on the Delphi case. So welcome to the show, y'all. How y'all doing? We'll start off with you, Sonny. How you doing?
Doing good, thank you. Doing better than yesterday.
Are you all drinking with us tonight?
Yep.
What are you having? What are you having?
Mine is Smirnoff Peach.
I'm just gonna get over Corona Light.
Nice. Thank you to the show. Welcome to the show, Aspen. Alexa, are you drinking with us tonight?
Actually, yeah. I have a nice, I don't know if you can see it, that I'm going to open. I have a nice Cristal 2005 that I've been wanting to dig.
Whoa.
I had a 2008 right here, so I'm opening this right now.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
I figured I'm celebrating being with you guys, so.
Mine's a 2023 Sprite.
I had it for a long time, so I didn't buy it. So.
Oh man, well, I mean that's some high quality stuff there. That's the drink of champions from our high school days. It was in every hip hop song was the Cristal, and everybody wanted to try it. I honestly haven't had any yet. Have you guys had Cristal before? We'll start off with you, Hyman. Have you had it before?
Nah, man, I haven't. I mean, doesn't it count?
It does. What about you, Big Blue? Have you ever had Cristal? I think you're.
He's doing that disappearing act again.
He's like, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to plead the fifth on this one. And so,
I'm out.
Yeah. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Delphi case, just to kind of remind everybody on February 13, 2017, Abigail Williams and Liberty German were out at at the Monheim High Bridge Trail, part of the Delphi Historic Trails in Delphi, Indiana. They went missing. Their bodies were discovered the following day. As a result, they had their lives taken. There was a lot of speculation, a lot of fingers pointed in a lot of different directions. Here recently, the arrest of Richard Allen came to light. Kind of unsuspectedly and unexpectedly, I'm sorry. I don't think anybody was calling for Richard Allen's name prior to his arrest, saying that this was a guy who's a suspect. And so a lot of folks have looked into him since then. And today we're trying to find out, who he is. Did he do this alone? The whole 9 yards. But before we get into all that, I want to start off talking with Sonny and ask, can you tell us a little bit about your podcast, what you guys talk about? And I know you guys covered Delphi. Is that where you guys started, or is that just one of the more recent ones? Let us know.
So, I'll start off with that one because originally it was just me, my channel, and I was Sonny Austin, which is my name, and I covered the Suzanne Morphew case. And because Suzanne Morphew's case was seeming, after the search went on for Suzanne Morphew, it seemed like a lot of people were upset that nothing became of it. And I was like, no, I'm not going to let this, case basically go down. So I'm going to bring up the channel and I'm going to start doing lives just to keep Suzanne's case, awareness about it. And so Delphi was what actually brought me into true crime whatsoever, was actually the Delphi case. Mm-hmm. But I felt like after watching it a little bit for 2 weeks, I was like, whoa, this case is pretty crazy. Like, they got two different pictures. You got an old guy, then a young guy. And then I kept my eye on it, but I felt like there was a lot of people that were covering it, and I wasn't intending on covering it originally. But then when I was doing the Suzanne Morphew case, let me put it this way, and I think a lot of you guys can associate with this, is that sometimes cases overwhelm you to the fact that you're dreaming about them, thinking about them every moment of every day. And that's how Suzanne Morphew case. So I decided to take a break after doing another Mother's Day special for Suzanne. And then I came over to Delphi because I felt like, okay, well, let me go back to this bridge guy, because it seemed absurd to me that after all this time, and I've been in Delphi for about 2.5 years, that after all this time that you have somebody on the bridge, there's a video, Libby left that video for this case to be solved, and I felt like, okay, that's where my calling is right now, because I just couldn't understand how after this amount of time that nobody could identify this person, It just seems
Right.
so absurd. And so anyways, so our channel is all about justice and most importantly bringing awareness, you know, to the missing and of course the unsolved cases. And it just, you know, has been a major staple in who It's a Crime and Shame is. And then of course the Idaho 4 case came, and so we started diving into that one as well.
Got you. Aspen, what about you? You're how long have you been with a crime and shame, and what is your background?
Myself, I own a hair salon in my my everyday life, and I didn't even know that true crime was even like really a thing on YouTube. I was a podcast person, so I'd listened to the Down the Hill podcast back in 2019, and when the Anthony Shots information came out, I think it was December of 2021. I couldn't really find any updates on the case other than like, you know, all of a sudden they're looking for this new model guy that was a catfish thing. And that was where the Keegan Kline stuff came into play. And so I literally just went on YouTube and typed in Delphi, and Sunny's channel came up, and I started watching it. It's been about a year now. And one night she had me call in, and we spent like 13 hours together on the live. And I never left. And in November of this year, November of last year, I started my own channel. But I'm still on 3 times a week with
nice.
Or more.
What is your channel?
Aspen Connor.
Good deal. I'll get that from you, and I'll put it in the description. That way people can find you. Alexa, criminal profiler, what is your background? How do you fit in? Obviously, the profiling.
Well, it's a crime and intelligence behavioral analyst, aka what everybody calls them, street name, profiler. So I got into crime. I mean, literally by an accident. My parents wanted me to be a lawyer. I started actually in the path to, for law school and everything. And then one of my professors, but I always inclined more to the defense, but I know I couldn't live with my conscience. Right. And I had a professor, and then he was like, I think you would be good for this agency. And he kind of said, maybe you should try it. And I went, I fell in love with it, and I never looked back. So I did grad school, and in 16 years, I was with them 16 years. Wonderful, 16 years. I didn't retire, but I actually quit. I decided to quit because I became a mom. And I thought that, having twins was more, at that point, it was more than, my career. So that's basically how I got into. I never knew that true crime existed online. One day by accident, I kind of Googled something, and in YouTube, I looked for something, and there it is. Sunny came in, and I really liked her. I liked her energy, and I started talking in a couple months, and then she was like, oh, maybe one day you can come in. And it took forever to come in. Like the whole summer, we were like, I'm here, I'm there, and it took forever. But I really like the fact that she wasn't about the money, she wasn't about exploiting the case, and Adam the same, and Debbie at the time. So, and that's how I got into it.
Got you. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys being on board. I appreciate you guys being on the show. So. It's time to get our beaks wet. Let's get into the Delphi case. What were your guys', and we'll start off, you guys can answer it however you guys want. Up until Richard Allen's arrest was made, did you guys have an idea of who this person was? Or were you guys thinking that there's still somebody out there that we don't know yet who would end up being Richard Allen? We'll start off with you, Sonny. What do you think? Did you have a suspect in mind as who Bridge Guy was?
Yeah, I think if anyone knows the channel, I certainly did. And I certainly would never usually put someone's name out there if I didn't think I was correct. And, so I have to eat pie on that one so far, because it was one of those things, like when I first even came into Delphi, it was just one of those things that as time went on, it all made sense. I looked and I double checked, triple checked, 100 times checked, all that. Anyways, so yes, I did. But then when you have a picture of someone with Richard Allen, and then you can go back and look at the pictures. So if anyone knows me, they know I basically look through people's Facebooks, Instagrams, whatever, to look for the attachments, and I look at the photos of the helicopter footage crime scene and photos in general. So I kind of like blow them up until you can try to see the best images you think that you can possibly get. And that's starting from ground zero and then just using tools. And then as the time goes on, you just start getting a little bit better at using those tools. Right. But anyway, so yes. And then Richard Allen came along, and it took me a few weeks to go, I got to say it. It's Richard Allen, as much as, as eating crow and eating pie. But I mean, it's not about being right. It's about justice for Abby and Libby.
Right. 100%. So who did you think it was?
Me?
Yeah.
Somebody that nobody heard of. And I won't use the name.
Okay. So it was somebody that nobody's come out yet. All right.
No, it was an associate to Garrett Kurtz, a best friend of Garrett Kurtz, and his initials were KD. But yeah. Got
you. What about you, Aspen? Did you have an idea of who might be the perpetrator in this heinous crime prior to Richard Allen's arrest? And
no, I mean, I thought Sonny very well may be onto something, but I very personally decided that was never going to be like what I focused on. Like I've never had a POI, and I really just wanted justice for the girls. But I figured, I kind of felt at the end of the day, I'm not going to be the one that solves this case. I just want to bring awareness and attention to it. So I just, I kind of made a decision to never publicly ever say anyone. I had thoughts, of course, but,
right.
Richard Allen definitely kind of came out of,
left field.
Yeah. I was going to say molehill.
Yeah. And you, Alexa, did you have an idea of who this guy might be? For us, for the Drunk Turkey show,
I always knew that everybody that I have seen and all the creators were saying and pointing, I knew that it was nobody. I knew it was going to be somebody that came out. I mean, I didn't know it was Richard Allen himself, but I knew it was going to be somebody like him. And actually, there's a live that we did that I actually describe him, and I forgot which one it is. So I should have looked and tell you. And when I went back, I actually freaked out myself because it was exactly what he ended up being. And but I knew that it had to be somebody that was not on the table.
So when it comes to Richard Allen, he puts himself there on the scene. He puts himself in the clothing that the bridge guy was wearing. He puts himself all over that place. We broke down the timetable and the probable cause affidavit to kind of pick and point where the witnesses were at, what time the witnesses were, where they were, and the testimony that everybody had. It seems like a pretty open shut case, and as far as that goes. Now there's been talks about the unspent round found between the bodies. We've talked about that on our show. As a criminal profiler, do you see a guy that is 45 at the time, somewhere around there, committing this type of crime for the first time as a crime that, he just let loose? Or was this something of maybe the situation got out of hand and it was resulted out of desperation?
I think he had been suppressing those feelings for a long time. And just because, I know the age. Usually when we talk about SK or regular case, usually they start younger. And most of them you can see from youth. They start, with animals, cruelty with animals, not being empathetic, blah, 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 blah. And usually relationships. But there is a bunch, and there's some like Richard Allen that they suppress those feelings for a long time until there's some trigger that happens in their lives that they just decide to go loose. I always kind of thought that I don't think it's by coincidence the fact that his daughter kind of looks a little bit like Libby. And maybe there's something there going on. There could be like a suppression, like a sexual fantasy, and maybe he didn't want to do it with his daughter, and maybe he had to find somebody like
right, that's resembled
to replace that. So I think, I know everybody says the age and everything, but it's not uncommon, but it's not common either. You know what I mean? So I mean, there are a few that are older, but usually they're not. I mean, the SKs usually they start younger.
So we have Mel with a $2.99 super sticker. We appreciate that. She popped her super sticker cherry. We also have a new member, Opalupa. Thank you so much for becoming a member. We appreciate you. And so, so do you guys think that this was initially going to be what the outcome was, which was the 2 innocent lives being taken, or do you guys suspect that this was a botched kidnapping?
I don't think it was a botched kidnapping myself.
I don't know.
I think that from everything that I have seen, and even from what Julie Melvin has talked about as well, and Julia Melvin would be the aunt to Cody Patty, so she has a lot of knowing of, because she lives in Delphi.
Right.
And so when I listened to her and like when she was talking on Fig Solve's show as well, and just by what I've personally seen, he came packing with gear. He came ready to do what he was going to do, or him or others that are involved. Either way, the BG, what you see is not what you get just by looking at that video, which is why I say I go into the photographs to show more, which I'll be putting out my video for the Crime Scene 3, which will have the pictures in it to show. But anyways, I personally don't. I believe that it was planned and he did come ready to do whatever him or anyone else that was involved to those girls.
Got you. And what about you guys? Do you guys think the same thing, that this was something that was planned? Broad daylight, out in the open, middle of everywhere, in the middle of everyone, not that far from the trail that was being utilized. There was people on the trail. We have witnesses of people that are said to have been on the trail that day. I find that a little difficult. I find that difficult to believe that this was the initial plan, at least at that spot. I'm not saying that the plan probably couldn't have been or wouldn't have been to have taken those lives, but I don't know if that spot is the spot that is going there. But what puzzles me is where are they going, right? Like, you have, this is the trail here, and you have them going down the hills somewhere around here and right here, and then them coming across and into Ronald Logan's property on this side of the creek. Like, do you guys think he was taking them because it was a secluded area, or you don't think that maybe perhaps because there was a private road down underneath this bridge, you don't think they ran over there? I just find it kind of weird and hard to believe that wide open, middle of the day, broad daylight, even if the plan was to do what he ended up doing. Do you think that was the location in which he planned to do it at the entire time?
Yes, I do.
I agree. I personally think as well, given the information we know right now, I mean, because they've talked about tentacles and other people possibly being involved, but just given the information that we have right now, we know Richard Allen, is allegedly, the one that unalived the girls. To me, if it was a kidnapping thing, why wouldn't he have driven down that private drive and parked somewhere there? I mean, he parked in he clearly went there with malintentions because of the way he parked. He parked, he backed into a spot at that CPS building. He didn't park in the regular parking lot for the trail. He had, he had a knife and essentially a gun on him as well. And I just think if the goal was to kidnap, and he was a lone wolf, he would have parked somewhere else.
So it's about a mile from the old CPS building where he parked to where this incident had occurred. That is a long walk to go back. And based on the description of what was stated out there as far as the scene goes and the amount of blood that he would have on his person and body, that doesn't seem like the most logical plan to park there.
Agreed.
You know, I would assume that if he was going to do something of this nature, that maybe the cemetery that's right there, you know, would have been more, efficient for him to park, get out. Even if he parked there and then walked, I mean, he apparently was willing to walk this distance from here, right? So if he was willing to walk from there, why not park his vehicle, walk along here, and then come down this direction?
Even park where the girls were dropped off at. Even park at the Mears, lot where the girls were dropped off at would have made more sense to me.
Yeah.
Right.
It does seem strange. But Daniel, can I point out one thing that sometimes people do forget is that there was an item at the crime scene that was so large that it's not nothing that the BG had on him.
Like what?
Pardon?
Like what?
I'm not sure if they're referring to the big stuffed animal or what contraption. But it was said that there, and I know that there is myself, but there was an item there that was so large. I think, if I'm not mistaken, hi everyone, that it was so large. I just feel all alone all of a sudden. Hi everyone. But anyways, that it was so large that there's no way that the BG had it on him that day. And if I'm not mistaken, again, I believe actually it might have been, and I want to say Julie, that said that as well. Just like Julie said that the BG had so much more on him than just that gun, and which I know is true myself. But anyways, so again, we're working with what we got, trying to make sense of it.
So if she had like a large bear, the reason that would probably be down there would be because he was going to pose them in a certain way, probably take pictures, which would explain why the Ronald Logan search warrant had that they were looking for, cameras and things of that nature. Maybe perhaps they had an impression of a trifold in the ground or something that made them believe that if there was a stuffed animal that had to have been taken there and dropped off, then that leads, then that means that was going to be the area and that they were going to pose in.
Yeah.
And whatnot. Now, Abby wasn't a small little girl. She was on the larger side. Richard Allen looks like a small guy. Do you guys find, do you find it, I'm not saying odd, but do you guys think that he's physically capable of committing this crime and then moving bodies of that size and comparable to his size around and, by himself in a short period of time? Or do you think there was something else out there?
Moving could be just dragging, because I don't think they were dragged too far. I think he probably took them off somewhere and then just dragged. I know you don't like the other word, so I'm trying to use your word. I know he probably just dragged them. And also, don't forget that they're young girls, and this is before, obviously. And he had a gun, so I think any two young girls are going to do anything. And like you guys said, he could have parked where everybody parked, and just with the gun, he could have put them in the car if he wanted to. So I think he chose this location and he parked where he parked is because he was very familiar with this place. So he really knew this place, and he knew that I guess they wanted to take pictures or do whatever they wanted to do. And to do that, they wanted to take them, into a secluded area. One. And I think also they chose that day and that location, that time, is because they knew they knew they were going to be there. And that was probably the only opportunity that they had to do something like that. So I think everything played into like all the stars aligned, unfortunately, on that day for their nefarious, outing that happened.
You look at the probable cause affidavit and you see the time in which he arrives and him walking with a sense of a purpose based on the three witnesses that saw him. You have another witness who saw somebody on the bridge, turned around, walked away, and then saw Libby and Abby walking towards the bridge. So there's like a lot of, the time frame in which this happens is very close. Do you guys suspect that there was a second person out there? And where do you think they were? Because there's a video and there's only one person walking on that bridge. Who do y'all think that perhaps could be his accomplice, and where do you think they are, if at all, on scene? Perhaps maybe they're just somebody who created the meetup. We'll start off with you, Sonny. What do you think?
If I was to guess, so I don't think by any means that Richard Allen was a lone wolf in all this. It still is. It's not made sense to me ever, and I just go by what's out there and what seems to be more plausible. Do I picture Richard Allen by himself doing all of this? And I know a lot of what's at that crime scene. Sorry, someone's subscribing to our channel. Sorry. Thank you, subscriber. If anything, I'll believe that that there was a secondary person, maybe two more at the end of the bridge already. I always felt like the bridge guy was more of the trap to push forward in a sense. And so, it's one of those things. I think that there's definitely more than one person involved in all this. I've tried to wrap my head around the different scenarios myself. It doesn't make, for me, logical sense that he acted alone at 45 years old. I feel like Keegan Kline will come into play at this at some point with the whole luring of the girls and stuff like that. I think it's a lot bigger than what people think, but I'm always worried that we might never hear the truth because of the sloppiness of what happened at the start. I mean, back in 2017, they should have had him, based on everything that was said. Like, why 6 years, 5.5 years later, really? So I don't know. But I'm going to say yes, more than one person. And at the end of the bridge.
At the end of the bridge. What about you guys? What do y'all think? Do y'all think there's anybody else out there at the scene committing this crime, not just facilitating the meeting? We'll start off with you, Aspen. What do you think?
I personally think that, probably, we talked the other night, I think that what are the chances that, there were two nefarious things kind of going on that, at the same time, with Keegan Kline catfishing Libby and, Richard Allen encountering them out there. I mean, it's possible, but is it probable? To me, I think that leads to the fact that, Keegan Kline is involved in this somehow. Whether he was physically there, I don't know. But I definitely go back to that Wabash River search and just the alleged, flip phone that they found in the Wabash River that they said was connected to the Delphi investigation. I'm like, I feel like it has to come into play somewhere. But
right. What about you, Hyman? What do you think? You think there was more than one person? You think it's Richard Allen? Do you think that Keegan or maybe Tony Kline had anything to do with facilitating the meeting?
I think at the crime scene, I feel like it was only Richard. Right. I believe there was a meetup set up by someone else. But like we were talking about earlier about him using a firearm as an intimidation tool, right?
Right.
Obviously, I don't think he would use it to actually do the deed, I guess you could say, because in the timeline he said he even admitted that he saw witnesses there, right? He saw three juveniles, and I don't think he would go out there and shoot someone with all that ruckus going on. So I think that was just intimidation, and I don't think he expected to see
multiple witnesses out there.
Yeah, that and the two girls. I think he expected one girl out there, which was Libby, right?
Right. I think he would made contact with Libby and was talking with her.
But as far as like anybody being there at the crime scene itself helping him, I don't think he was a lone wolf. I think there's someone else that made this meeting and whatnot, but I think that's just about it.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think that there may have been something that was planned. I'm not entirely sure if there was anybody else that was out there with him. Main reason being is just we have witnesses that see him. We have a camera that has him, going and parking. Then we have witnesses seeing him by himself walking at the entrance of the trail We have a witness that sees him at the trail at the bridge by himself. There's at any point, there's not a witness that's come forward that says that they've seen him with another person. And so that kind of leads me to believe that he was by himself out there. There's been rumors and speculation that Ronald Logan had some kind of connection to it. And the only connection that I can find, honestly, when it comes to Ronald Logan, I get it. He lied about his, trying to get an alibi, this, that, and the third. But he had other reasons. He was trying to prevent himself going back to prison for violation of probation. The only thing that I can think of that could implicate Ronald Logan is if you look at the map here. Richard Allen lives down here, which is southwest. His workplace is west of the trail. Majority of the city of Delphi is west of the trail. Yet he's traveling on 300, coming from the east to the west, and is caught passing the Hoosier Harvest Store in front of the Mears farm. Right now, why would he be traveling this direction? Is the one thing that bothers me. Perhaps he met somebody out here. Perhaps he was at this walking trail that morning that goes back here, trying to find somebody else, left and went this direction. Or maybe perhaps he was at Ronald Logan's house. If he was at Ronald Logan's house, that would be a reason for him to be traveling this direction at that time of day and not coming in from the other side. Now, I haven't seen anything that indicated that Ronald Logan was seen driving this direction to Lafayette when he went to go get his fish. And so, I find that to be the only thing that makes me question. Now, I believe Peru and Peru is this direction, Logansport.
Mm-hmm.
They are from this direction. However, if he was in Peru or Logansport, he'd be coming down this direction and still coming in over here, not on the 300 North or whatever this is called. What do you guys think he was doing going this direction on this road? We'll start off with you, Sonny.
Okay, so just to make sure, you're saying that he was going from east to west?
Yeah, he was traveling westbound. At what time was it that the probable cause affidavit stated?
Was that 3:47 or
2:46?
Let's see.
No.
I'll find it.
Not 3:46 because that was 2:13. 1:46 was it?
Mm-hmm.
At 2:28, he described possibly the scene leaving at 2:28.
I think that's Kelsey's car, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's see. I'll find it here in a second.
Are you talking about when you arrived?
Investigators observed the vehicle resembled Allen's 2016 Ford Focus on the Hoosier Harvest Store at 1:27 p.m. traveling westbound on County Road 300 North in front of the Hoosier Harvest Store, which coincided with this statement.
Daniel, can you read Kyle Davis? So Kyle Davis is from Delphi. Can you read his comment right there?
The way he took is the same way I would always take to the trails when I lived close to Richard. It's less traffic than almost as fast pulse. It's easier way to navigate around the stoplight. Okay.
Yeah. Kyle had said that last time when you were on the show. He had made that comment to me. So because he lives there and he used to live near Richard Allen's area.
Right. So to go from here, you would either travel down this direction up and then around or come this way. I don't know if there's a way to turn up.
There's a country road in between, I think.
And so the route that we're suspecting is that he would have came this direction, turned where? Gone straight down this road, gone up over here around this direction.
Across that bridge, isn't it? that what's that other bridge called, you guys? That one that
the Wilson Bridge.
Yeah, the Wilson Bridge.
Okay. Yeah, because it's just I've looked at this a few times and I just can't figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And I've looked at Google Maps trying to plot it to see how he would be coming in from this direction.
And I have to say, Kyle is not the only one that says that. The other day that when you were there, a couple of the people that live there said the same thing. So I guess it's not. That's.
I guess it's a regular way that a lot of people take.
You know, Kyle's a nice guy. I bet if we asked him really nice, he'd probably take a video of himself driving that route to show you sometime, and we can send it to you.
That would be great. If you could do that, that would be awesome. When you can send that to us at drunkturkeyshow@gmail.com.
It's always nice to people, you know.
Yeah. Because that's the one thing that I've had trouble finding out. And he didn't go back that direction. You know, he's not seen leaving that area at 3:30 or whatever the time that somebody saw somebody walking muddy and bloody along the road there.
Yeah.
He didn't go back in that direction. He went the opposite direction, from what I understand.
There's nothing straightforward about this case whatsoever. So for me, it's like nothing makes sense. If Richard Allen parked at the CPS building, which he called the Farm Bureau building, again, I'm just thinking, really, dude, like what, you got to take this long walk? Like, why wouldn't you even park on the opposite side? You know, like, or on the Wilson side or something, or, you know, like. Nothing makes sense. And even like the girls that are talking, it's like one says a blue jean jacket, another says a blue windbreaker. Well, someone says that the person was all in black. You know, when you look at everything that they're saying, it's blue, sure, but blue jean jacket and blue windbreaker are two different things. And then we hear about a duck jacket, like a Carhartt duck jacket, and then, like I said, and then you hear about the black clothes. And then you do hear about a secondary person that was not Hispanic coloring, but of more of a little bit darker tone covering that Miss Weber had seen that day, which is the one that lives in the house across from the crime scene. But she didn't see it. I guess it was I don't know, because she was. I don't know that she was there that day, Miss Weber.
Kay Weber, no.
Yeah. Her son was, but anyways, I was reading it again today, and I just thought, geez, you know, I know that there hopefully has to be so much more than what's in this affidavit, because this affidavit has so many holes in it, with the girls all saying something somewhat different, like someone's all in black.
Right, but I'll be honest with you. I don't take too much weight into the discrepancies of the story. The fact is that three girls saw a guy walking in, and Richard Allen said that he saw three girls while he walked in, one being taller. And so witness testimony can be a little bit unreliable. And so you know, I'm not surprised that there's different statements about what they saw. Especially, you have to remember at the time that they saw Richard Allen, they weren't looking at somebody that they suspected was going to be a double homicide suspect. And so it was just a guy walking by them. And so, you know, the detail that they would have remembered would have been minute and small. But what brings it all together for me is the fact that we watched a video of somebody walking down this trail, and it took that gentleman about 13 minutes to get from the start of the trail to the end of to where the bridge starts, right? And so we took that information and we basically tried to figure out, you know, if Richard Allen was walking slightly faster. It didn't say that he was jogging, just said he was walking with a purpose. He'd probably take him around 12 and a half minutes or so. What we do have for sure is that we have time-stamped pictures from the three juveniles that saw him at a bench at 1:26 a.m. This bench is approximately about 3/4 of a mile away, and we had put there that based on them talking and walking, that they probably would have arrived here at about 3:33, which coincides with Richard Allen parking here at 3:30 at the time that he stated he would. This is also about 3/4 of a mile. We anticipate that probably take about what was it, like about 6 minutes or so to walk. I think he got seen at 27 driving by, so we figured he probably getting out of the car at 28. Take him about 5 or 6 minutes to get from there to that point to this point. 13 minutes or 12 minutes from the time that he's here at 1:33 to the time that he is passing the bridge. What is 13 minutes times on top of 1:33? That's what, 1:46? Well, at 1:46 exactly, the female adult witness is passing by the Hoosier Hardware store, is parking where Libby and Abby got dropped off about 3 minutes prior to. And so she's getting dropped off here and coming down this direction and walks towards the bridge. So in my opinion, if this wasn't Richard Allen would have had to have made it from this point at 1:33 to the bridge and then back this direction and past the Myers opening prior to the lady in purple, the witness in purple, arriving there, because she saw somebody on the bridge, turned around and saw Libby and Abby passing and walking towards the bridge. And so if this isn't Richard Allen, the only way that it can't be Richard Allen is he would have had to have passed, got on the bridge, watched the fish, turned around, past that entrance before 1:46. And that's almost impossible. There's just no way that he's going to do that in that amount of time, to have walked the full trail, turned around, and walked past, and still, also not to mention the female, or we're assuming it's female, the witness we marked here in purple. She stated she walked up and down the trail a few times, didn't see anybody else matching the description of what she saw on the guy on the bridge, who matches the description based on what Richard is saying as Richard Allen. And so we think that timeline makes it almost impossible for it not to be Richard Allen, at least who was on the bridge or as being bridge guy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he said he was on the bridge.
Right, exactly. And so if we look at that, just based on the fact that the juveniles have the picture timestamp, we can guesstimate around what time that they were at the entrance of the trail. And we can, that's the time that both those juveniles and Richard Allen stated that they saw each other. And so we need to figure out if it's possible for Richard Allen to walk the entire trail, get on the bridge, watch the fish, turn around, and get back beyond the Myers entrance before the lady that at 1:46 is seen on the hardware store. I don't think that it's possible, in my opinion. I think it pretty much got him dead to right on that, to be honest with you.
I said, by the way, Daniel, I sent you a picture that Kyle sent to me of the path that he would always take, which is I think vaguely what you were talking about. Put that in Messenger there. I mean, perfect. Richard Allen places himself like literally on the bridge. Yep. To me, obviously, it's Richard Allen. He put himself there at 1:30.
What's it called? You know what I find super weird is the fact that they had this video of Bridge Guy from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And in a small population as it is in Delphi, it took them 5 years.
To recognize
5 years for them to come up with them. That's what I find super weird. If it wasn't for the video, he wouldn't be arrested right now.
What? Jaime, what's actually super weird to that is in 2017, they literally interviewed him. So how do you have all this information about Bloody and Muddy and this person that's in a jacket, blah, 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 blah. And so how do you even interview Richard Allen back in 2017 and that nobody at any given point came forward and said, hey, remember, I'm the peace officer or whatever that interviewed or talked to him, or I'm the detective that interviewed him or whatever. How did nobody come back at some point and say, hey, what about that guy that we interviewed that was wearing like the same things and, that said he was at the bridge? Like there was one person. So he said he was at the bridge. So it just, none of it really makes sense. Like, how does a case even get handed over and still nobody is catching on to this? It just seems so absurd. How does somebody go, yeah, look here, right here, I was at the bridge, I'm telling you. And then the girls are saying, well, he's the only guy that I seen. I only saw one man. So how does that get missed in all of this? And it takes 5.5 years for.
It's because they had tunnel vision on Richard Allen and Keegan Kline. They saw what was going on with Ronald Logan.
Ronald Logan.
I mean, not Richard Allen. I'm sorry. They got tunnel vision with Ronald Logan. They saw that he was lying about this, that, and the third. The bodies were found on his property. You know, his walk or gait is kind of similar to what you see on the video, and so they targeted him and they kind of shut down what the evidence was that could have really found the real guy. Now, this is the possible route that would get to that Richard Allen would take to get to the where he parked at, going in front of the Hoosier Harbor store. Now, the only problem that I have with this is that the juveniles were saying that they saw him walking with a purpose. In my opinion, that means, and you also look at the time frame in which he arrived, got on the bridge, and the time frame in which the girls arrived. You know, that those kind of arrows point to me that this was something that was planned. This was a scheduled meeting, and that he was trying to get there before a certain time. To go this route, how much longer would this route take versus if he would have gone the more conventional route to park in the same spot? You know, especially if he was in a rush, in a hurry, is he going to go out of his way to park this far just to not be seen on one light, or not to go through a red light? And let's just say that the reason he doesn't want to go through that stoplight is because there's a possible camera there. It appears that he went through that red light after the murders, and so those things don't make sense to me. But I mean, it's quite possible. It's quite possible.
If I'm not mistaken, Kyle, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Kyle had said that lots of times it was faster to go that route than the actual route, and that's why people would go that route.
Got you. I mean, it's possible. I don't know. See, this is a small town. There's not going to be traffic. You're not running into, you know, rush hour, things of that nature, and so I'm not entirely certain where that would take place. But I mean, I don't live there, and so if this is the faster route and this is the route that would be taken because of speed, then that would make sense. It just seems really far out of the way.
Right. Visually, it seems like it, doesn't it? It seems like, well, why would you go that way when you can? It's right there. But I just remember Kyle having that conversation after the fact and saying, yeah, like, and I believe he said it was because it was just as easy without the traffic or whatever to go that way. But just so Kyle says right there, it only takes 3 to 5 minutes longer max. Depending on how fast you drive, it's faster. And coming back, the stoplight is easier to get through.
Okay.
Gotcha. I don't think he went that route to avoid cameras. I mean, if him avoiding cameras he's gonna stop this mission, right, of going to that bridge, he would have stopped when he saw the witnesses or the young juveniles at the
That is true. You know, he saw witnesses, he saw girls that were there, and he still committed this heinous crime. You know, go ahead.
Can I say something? Also, it kind of proves that it was also targeted because, I mean, he saw 3 girls. He could have, 2 to 3 is not a big difference. I mean, he had everything, so he could have taken one more.
Well, here's the other thing. Though. When the lady that we have as a witness in purple, just for the sake of showing, you know, different, so that you can see the differences, she walks up and she sees Richard Allen on the bridge, right? She turns around and walks back and she sees Libby and Abby walking towards the bridge. Yeah. When Libby and Abby get on the bridge and they're taking their photos and their pictures, there's not somebody behind them on the bridge until they take the video of the guy walking up to them, approaching them, and then telling them to go down the hill.
Yeah.
My thoughts and thinking were, did he turn around to potentially go after the girl or the witness that we've just, you know, have pinned in purple until he saw Libby and Abby pass, and then he turned back around? Because he wasn't on the bridge when they got on the bridge. You know, but you're right. There's a lot of twists and turns. Fortunately for me, or not fortunate, but like for me, Blue and Jaime, we didn't deep dive into this case until after Richard Allen was arrested. So we didn't go down a lot of those
lucky,
rabbit holes and things of that nature that were out there prior to. I have no doubt that I would have probably, gone down similar roads that many people did, including the FBI, when they were targeting Ronald Logan, and then when they're targeting Keegan Kline. Do you guys? And I'll ask this for you, Alexa. Do you think that Keegan Kline, based on his actions and what he has done, as far as his part in what we know of him, the charges that he has gotten, the solicitation of pictures and things of that nature, would you suspect that he was a victim of SA in his life?
No,
you don't think he was ever maybe possibly by Richard Allen at if he would have known him at a younger age, maybe that's where the connection.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if I would have said something, maybe I would have thought about the parents, about the father, TK, or maybe a friend of the father. But no, I don't think so. I think Kagan. I think he was brought up to be like that. I think he had a wonderful example by his father, extremely sarcastic, that he saw how his father was. And I think he was brought up to be, instead of being like the mom and the siblings, the half siblings, I think the father groomed him in a way. I think this is why I don't think Kagan was I don't think he's a psychopath. I think he is a sociopath. I think it's somebody. I think he was made. Kagan was groomed into becoming what Kagan became by the father.
And so, I was reading the transcript between Keegan Kline and the police department that Murder Sheet had released, and then I've also listened to his conversations with media after that conversation, and it seems like there was certain things that embarrassed him that he wasn't willing to admit, especially things that they were trying to pin on him doing with his father. They were talking about that they would go to Vegas and that potentially they were going to purchase a woman for themselves, for both of them, a father-son type of movement. And he was very embarrassed by those things. Nah, that's gross. I wouldn't do that. I just felt that there were certain things that he would keep hidden based off of his embarrassment of them that potentially could have happened to him in his past. I look at what's the connection between him and Richard Allen. I think that they have, at one point, their families had crossed paths. It's a small area. It's a small community in that direction. Is it possible that maybe perhaps Richard Allen and Keegan Kline have something that Keegan's embarrassed about, and that might be a connection between the two? But who knows? It's all speculation. It's all fiction.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Big Blue.
Okay, sorry, I had my headset off and it wasn't working right. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming on, and then I wanted to say for Alex, I'm gonna call her Alex because every time you say your name, my Alexa goes off. That's why I keep muting. And it started answering questions like, who's that? I thought the kids were messing with it.
It's okay.
That's why I keep muting myself. I keep answering questions like. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good, Big Blue. You're good. We love you. So, I think they got the right guy in Richard Allen. I think that there's association by the facilitating of the meeting. I'm not too convinced that Richard Allen had somebody else out there with him at the time. I think he was there. There was the conversation from the police department to Keegan Kline referencing that they felt that there was more than one person on the accounts. There was a difference in vocabulary, a difference in structure of words and sentences, things of that nature. And the fact that Keegan Kline, using the Anthony Shots profile, was talking to women or girls and, alluding to or asking them if they would have relations with his father. Now, the police there were all targeting in on on Tony Kline. I think that after that meeting is when you see a change in the sketch that they had out there for the suspect. You know, you look at the first initial suspect that they had a sketch out there. He was obviously an older man, older looking, and the other one was a little bit slightly younger. In my opinion, I think that those were both dictations of the person that they had in mind as a suspect. Initially, I think that they had targeted, potentially had some form of tunnel vision on Ronald Logan. And that's why we got an older picture. 2019, they have the conversation with Keegan, and the picture kind of looks like Tony Kline. And so I think that's exactly where they were going with on that aspect. You know, but
like Tony.
You don't think it looks anything like Tony Kline?
Not at all. No. I never really had a Tony Kline vibe in it all. For me, Tony Kline was like, I think people wanted to try to place him with it and all that, but I actually never really had. I was kind of like one of those things like Ron Mogen. I can't exclude him, but I can't include him either. That's how I always felt about Tony. But no, I don't feel at all it looked like Tony Kline, but I know some people out there do. I never did. Did you guys? Besides Daniel, did you guys think it looked like Tony?
I assumed it did. What about you, Jaime? Did you guys think that it was Tony Kline?
No, I don't. Not really. Not really. I thought they were trying to mix in Keegan and someone else together, but I don't think it was TK.
What about you, Big Blue?
No, I don't think so. At first, I thought it was Ronald Logan for a good while. When the FBI report came out,
no, just a picture, just a sketch.
Oh, the sketch. No, didn't look like it to me.
You didn't think so? What about you guys? Aspen and Alex, what do y'all think?
I mean, I don't think it looks like him. I mean, for me, I don't think it looked like, but I think they did kind of circle to TK for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think it looked like TK, but I thought if anything, it kind of looked like Anthony Schatz with curly hair.
Yeah, to be honest, a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is the sketch that they came out with. This is the second one. You got the chubby nose, a little bit chubbier face, right. Younger face, lips, nose kind of lifted up. And this is Tony Kline. And I thought that it looks a lot more like this guy than it does Richard Allen. Let me know in the comment section. Write 1. Put 1 if you think it looks like Tony Kline. Put 2 if you think it does not look like Tony Kline. There's Tony Kline. And there's the sketch. Let me know what you guys think. Put them in the comment section. We appreciate that. I don't know. I thought it looked a little bit alike. I thought that they facially, the eyes somewhat looked alike. The nose, the mouth. But I could be wrong. I thought it looked kind of the same.
The eyes definitely a little bit.
I was going to say, if anything, the eyes a little bit to me, but I don't know who they were trying to depict in this picture, to be honest, besides the fact that they realize, I don't even know, because honestly now
they might not either.
Just because of the fact that they had the old picture, then they come up with this 20-year-old looking guy, 20 to 25-year-old looking guy, and then they come back out and say, "Oh, fancy that! It looks like the older guy."
Right.
So I think when people kind of combine the two, that yeah, you can kind of get Richard Allen out of both of them together more so. But I mean, I've not really been one. The only thing I was using the sketches for myself was just old, young, and I never used it for actual.
Between the sketches and the guy in the video, it's like 2 way different people.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, they only had a few witnesses, like I said, and the testimony is not going to be strong. I mean, you have one person thinking they're all in black, one person thinking they're all in blue, and it's obviously the same person because there's the account of the description of the same account where they ask somebody or the man, how's it going, and he doesn't say anything. So we got wow, thank you so much, Vice Forever. We appreciate that. $20. Says, I'm livid, angry beyond words, hold parents responsible as well. I'm sorry for the loss, but let's be really real. If if they were tuned into their kids, this may not have happened. I can't stress enough. Know your kids. Understand completely. You have to be vigilant. You must check in on your kids.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think anybody plans or thinks that something like this or something nefarious like this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like these kids were going to a place that, you know, they weren't out in a bad neighborhood. They were on a public
Especially
trail.
in suburbia, in that little town.
It's a natural thing in small towns. I did it when I was 7 and 8. Same thing.
Right.
I mean,
now,
it's a natural thing. Yeah.
Right. The phone situation and the girls being able to contact and get catfished and things of that nature. Yeah, you know, as parents, we have to stay vigilant, check the phones, make sure that the children are not doing things they're not supposed to. And you also have to, you know, stay current with the times, because there's a lot of things that these kids know nowadays that weren't around or available when we were children. You know, I didn't have a cell phone to myself until I was almost a grown man. So
Anna had no clue that Abby had a phone, or she was. Anna had no clue that Libby was on Facebook. You know,
Abby, you mean?
Yeah, Abby.
Yeah.
Anna had no clue that she even had a Facebook and different things until all this came to light.
Right.
And also, Libby was with her living with the grandparents, and you know, the grandparents unfortunately are not as tech savvy, you know, as maybe the parents would have been. So circumstantial, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my daughter, my son can run circles around me with the internet and their phones and everything. So like, they know a lot more than I do. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah.
I will say this though, that bridge was super sketchy.
Correct.
Like, I don't know if I would allow my kids to be walking on it or being on it. It was
not by themselves. No.
Absolutely not.
Well, I'm sure they. I doubt they were allowed to go on the bridge, but you know.
No, that's not true. That's not true. Becky had said that Libby had been on the bridge, a few times, so that's not true. I would never allow my child, if I even knew that my child was going towards that bridge, I would never allow that. Are you kidding me? That thing is 70 feet up in the air. It was Abby's first time on that bridge. Now, again, you know, if I knew that bridge, like something like that existed, heck no, my child would never be allowed to even go near that bridge. But unless, of course, he snuck and did it without me knowing, you know. But
no,
kids will do that.
Yeah, unfortunately for us, for parents, no, we know our kids here at the house. But out of the house, when they're alone, we don't know what they're doing, and we just gotta take their word for it as it is right now, and just keep vigilant, like Danny said, and try to keep them as safe as possible. Because there's some evil people out there. They have ill intentions.
And also give them the tools. You know, like I always give my kids from a young age the tools. You know, like what to do. Like if somebody approaches you and they want to, you know, kidnap you, like what do? You know, like all the things that we go. And, you know, I always tell them, you know, if God forbid, knock on my big head, that ever happens, the first thing that they're going to take is your shoes because they don't want you to run away. So, for example, when they go places that I'm not too familiar, nowadays with technology, I put trackers, and I always put trackers on either their pants or like inside in like a little pocket, like in their underwear, because I know that that's the last thing that they're going to be taken away. And I know it sounds paranoid. I know, I get it, I understand. But unfortunately, that's what we have to live in. That's the society. And also, you know, teach them, you know, how to break, for example, you know, and you can Google and everything. And so somebody ties you up, how you can get, or somebody's approaching you, you know, all those techniques, what to do. But always I tell them is never put yourself in those situations. And the first thing is the internet. The internet can be your friend, but can also be your enemy. And we record everything that they do on the internet, and they know it.
Well, do you guys that this had anything to do with a CP ring?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
that's a loaded question.
So if it had something to do with a CP ring, do you think this is Richard Allen's first time dealing with somebody underage? Maybe to not even going to the extent of taking someone's life, just, you know, being around, maybe taking advantage of somebody underage, or.
I think to me, I think take him as a Keegan Kline a little bit, I think he had something going on. I think he had something going on to do with being a dirty old man type of thing. I think so.
What about you, Alexa? As a profiler, do you
I
think
think
that
so. I
this
always
is
said I always said that I think he had some kind of like sexual desires, like nefarious sexual desires, that maybe he couldn't he couldn't perform in his normal life, and he had to go through that route. And
right?
that's what I would love to, hopefully one day when we get to know everything. I'm not saying the wife knew, because I'm not saying she's involved or anything, don't get me wrong, but I do think the wife probably saw little signs. Maybe she didn't put them together at that point, but I think she had to see those personality types. I'm pretty sure he probably was into pornography, and those type of people are usually into a lot of pornography.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to when we get to know, or hopefully in the trial, we'll find out those little details.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So.
No, yeah, for sure. I find it difficult to believe that this guy went from not doing anything illegal when it comes to CP, when it comes to fantasies, or when it comes to even potentially committing a crime to this nature, to go from 100% straight arrow to something like this.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
You know, I think there might be a build, there might be something there that gets him built up to doing something like this. Even in the Idaho situation where we have Brian Kohlberger, there's tons of stories of him being weird, staring at people, lashing out to waitresses. There's a build up there. You know, there, in my opinion, should be some sort of build up here. And you know, I don't think that this is the first time that he's done something similar to this. How much weight do you guys put into the unspent round that was found near the bodies? You think that's a pretty big damning piece of evidence?
You know, yeah, actually, Adam, you take that one, because you know about the other unspent or the spent.
Well, I mean, I had a source reach out to me, and I don't like that word. I think it's cheesy, but I did have someone reach out to me. It was October 27th, so it was before the affidavit came out. It was a month before. When was it, Sonny? It was a month before the affidavit came out, basically.
Yeah.
That told me about the unspent round. They even gave me the quote of looking at fish was going to be what the alibi was, and why they were at the bridge. And then they also told me that during the search warrant in October that that they found a spent round in his backyard that they're using to kind of tie the two together. I mean, you take that with a grain of salt, because it's not come to fruition yet, you know, from LE, and I wait until everything comes from LE before I believe it. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I know there's been a huge argument about the, you know, junk science aspect and blah 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 with the unspent round, and I'm not a gun person, so I don't really know. I have to rely on what people tell me.
Well, I would assume that they would go get the same weapon and then go test that weapon with similar rounds.
But they did.
Yeah,
they did. It came out in the report that they sent it to the what's that gun?
To a lab.
Yeah. And they did the analysis with the gun that they got in his house,
sauer.
and then to the bullet that was found between the bodies, and it's a match from same kind of like.
Yeah. So if they have this unspent round casing that was at the crime scene between the girls, like 2 feet, it said, and then they have, let's just say hypothetically, because again, we never classify it as fact, even if we believe behind the scenes that this is, you know, really good source. And so if there's another one that's attached to that's in his yard, and they have those same markings on it, but this is a spent casing, you know, and then we're also told about a cat hair as well. I think that there's going to be a lot of weight to that, for the fact that this was prior to ever the affidavit coming out, that this information was already said to us. So again, hate to use the word source, but yeah, you can't really call a person out on that stuff.
I mean, if they're hearing pieces of the alibi, the fish, they're talking about a spent round, then there's some truth there in some aspect. I don't think that they can tie in a spent round that was found in his yard, if that would be even admissible. They're just going to use the round that they go and test from that weapon, unless they're trying to indicate that he changed the extraction, whatever causes that extraction mark on the weapon. Let's just say that they found a cartridge spent at his house that matches the round that was unspent, but that's not what the probable cause affidavit says. I think it says that the gun itself matches, and so that gun, the spent round. So
correct.
And I know that's solid, but I mean the fact that also he put himself being there, I think that is the biggest piece. That, of course, the fence is going to rip everything apart and say that, the wind blew it there and, whatever. But I think the fact that he admitted himself of being there, I think that's going to be the biggest clue and the biggest proof that he was actually there. Hopefully there's some DNA.
I remember reading that report, and they're saying that analysis they did on it spot on to that gun, because every gun's going to make a specific mark when you spend it. They're all going to make a different mark. And they're all going to be the same when they come out with that one gun. Not just the brand, but
I feel like a round going through the bullet is going to be more gives me more confidence into making a solid case instead of a unspent round. Also, because the barrel has its own thread patterns or whatever, especially even the striking point on the back of the bullet on the primer, right? So for me, I think the best bet on that spent round, I don't even know they check for partial print or even DNA, because I mean obviously he's gonna have to push that round into that magazine, right?
Right.
Maybe if it was maybe when he cocked back the gun, it got lodged in there, used his hand to take it out or something, lost it. I think DNA will be on there, or at least a partial print.
No, I would agree. There should be some. I mean, you have to put a lot of force into the magazines, in those high pressured magazines. They're not easy, especially towards the end. You got to push down on them.
I think the gun was like a 2001 too, so it was great, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, I think that it just kind of ties everything in. It puts him there. Can it be explained? Sure. He said that he was pulling his phone out. He was looking at stock trading. Is it possible that he had an unspent round in his pocket when he pulled his phone out? It fell out. Libby and Abby find it, pick it up, put it on their person in their pocket. That's possible. But when you put that, and you connect it to his accounts of where he was at what time he was at, it just kind of points that one arrow in that direction. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. In my opinion, like I said before, it's I find it odd, or not odd, but I find it hard to believe that given his age, that this would be his first attack. Maybe not to this extent. Maybe perhaps he's not taken someone's life before, but has at least attempted or has taken advantage of somebody probably underage. Man, I was going to ask another question. It just slipped my mind. Do you have any questions, Anya?
I do.
Okay, go, Sunny. Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you guys, what do you guys think about the fact that they were saying that it was like that someone claimed that it was looked like a purple PT Cruiser, and then Keegan Kline's mom had a purple PT Cruiser. Grandma, sorry.
From what I heard was that purple PT Cruiser that the Klines had that were connected was sold well before this crime had taken place. But it is odd.
Isn't it strange though that
I mean, it's not just that. They describe everything from a smart car to a small SUV. So it could have been any car, was basically saying, except for a truck.
Yeah, and those are gray and black, not purple.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely there, I think, like I said, is it possible that Keegan Kline facilitated the meeting, or maybe even potentially sold the account that had the Anthony Shots account to people that were trying to,
Right.
Create a meeting. Completely possible. I think that might be the end of what ended up happening. But like I had mentioned before, Keegan Kline has been open and talked about a lot of different things. Why wouldn't he come out and be open about Richard Allen from a long time ago? Why did it take several years for him to come around and say something against Richard Allen, unless whatever he had to say embarrassed him? That's why.
Could be also that because with one thing is to do what he was doing online, another thing is being an accessory to murdering, to murder or manslaughter or whatever. No, this case would be So I think that's probably why he stuck too long and he didn't say anything, because he was afraid that he is an accomplice.
Right.
If that's allegedly, if this is the case, which
there would be I mean, there would be no need for him to change his Facebook page to February 13th, working in Vegas. Like all these different things. Why would you do that?
Or Google DNA last.
You would have no reason to change your lie and be fictitious to the February 13th and change that to February 13th that you were working in Vegas, knowing full well that that's just a blatant lie right there. And it's somebody that edited, their Facebook to make it seem like they weren't. Why would you need to do that? And then talk to Libby's phone that day. Google Marathon gas station. Like why? Piles and piles of manure on top of it when he opens his mouth. Keegan Kline, that is, guys. Yeah.
But why not bring up Richard Allen if he's opened his mouth so much? Why not bring up Richard Allen 3-4 years, 2019, 2020, right. 2021? That's the part that bugs me. Is like why he's able to bring up all these other stuff. He's talked openly and willingly about some of the content there, the comments that he's made, who he was attacking and whatnot. He seems embarrassed about some of the things that they're trying to elude him doing with his father.
I just wanted to
go ahead.
I just want to answer for on one of the questions somebody asked. There's a confusion in the case in the chat. Somebody put on there, who pulled the trigger? There was no trigger pull. He cocked it back and the bullet shot out. It was not.
Right, it was extracted out. It was unspent, so nobody pulled the trigger in that aspect. Maybe perhaps he did and it jammed and he.
Right.
That's a possibility. But in my opinion, there's two options that I see logical that happens to why that bullet was unspent and ejected out of that weapon. Was one, it was an intimidation factor. He was trying to scare them by pulling back the slide and making the sound and everything else. Or two, there was a struggle in which the weapon was grabbed and was ejected out of that struggle. And so those are the two logical explanations for me when it comes to this situation. I remember my question now.
Okay.
Alex, do you find it odd that there wasn't trophies found in the probable, or at least listed in the probable cause affidavit from Richard Allen's house?
Well, yeah. Yes, I did. That was the one thing when I remember they said I was looking, but could have been that maybe the DNA hasn't come back. Maybe they found something and the DNA, because even if they found something, it has to be, they have to send it to forensics and they have to be 100% sure that it belongs to that victim.
What's the date on the affidavit?
If you look when the affidavit was written, so he was arrested on the 28th of October. Mm-hmm. The affidavit, I believe, was written somewhere. He was interviewed again on the 13th or the 16th of October. 13, so the affidavit was written, I believe the affidavit was written on the 26th or 27th of October, and he was arrested like 2 days later or the next day. So I think, what Alexa's saying is very plausible as far as, a lot of the forensics hadn't come back yet from the vehicle, anything they recovered from the house.
The forensics, but there's no jewelry, there's no pictures, right. There isn't. I think there was a sock or underwear or some kind of garment that was taken from the scene. None of that is listed in the probable cause affidavit. Right. Does that concern you that there wasn't some sort of trophy found?
It does, because I mean, I always said it, and I always thought that he would have at least one souvenir or one trophy from there. I always thought it had to be hair, because most on those type of offenses and the type of K that I think he is, hair is usually the one that they usually take. Hair, underwear, and then they go into, could be shoes, could be jewelry.
Rings.
But I think, I think they did find, but I think the DNA probably didn't come back. I am praying to God they have something more solid when they go to trial.
Do you think, based on the nature of this crime, that Richard Allen did take souvenirs, even if they didn't find them and they're somewhere else?
Yes, I do. I think so, because I think that this is related to a fantasy. And I think, and like I said before, I think this is something that he built up for many years, and he oppressed it. And maybe he took it out, like I told you, maybe watching porn or watching maybe CP. We don't know what it was found. And I think something had to trigger him. And I always believe that it's something with the daughter, has something to do with the daughter. But I can't point it out. I don't know if it's because the daughter was leaving, getting married, or he was attached in a different way to the daughter. But I think there was some trigger point that made him say, I'm going to do it. And I do believe in those type of offenses, those type of case. I usually, it's everything about the power, but it's also the fantasy in their heads. And that's why those crime scenes are so odd. And that's when, everybody talks about the crime scene. Usually a crime scene is, I go and I take you out, and that's it. But here there's the fantasy aspect. So there's going to be things in there that is, they bring in things that I'm going to bring into the crime scene, because I'm trying to create something. I'm part of my fantasy. And part of the fantasy is taking trophies, because trophies are going to, after unaliving a person, they are going to go into, there's seven stages of killing. It starts with the aura phase all the way to the to the depression phase. And right after they unalive a person, they start going into that depression when they realize, oh boy, there's no fantasy anymore. And by taking the trophy, allows them to relive their fantasy over and over and over. And so that's why I strongly believe that he had to take minimum a souvenir, a trophy from. I don't think for both, because I don't think Abby was part of this. I don't think Abby played a part of his fantasy. I think it was Libby, and even by the way Libby was found.
Do you think if he was deprived of that trophy, let's just say he didn't have one or didn't take anything from there, would he have done it again?
I mean, I don't think it specifically had to do with the trophy, but I think if it's hard to answer, because I mean, I don't know, but yes and no. I think for somebody else, yes. For this particular person, I don't think so. I don't think he has killed. Oops, sorry. I don't think he has unalived anybody.
Yeah.
From when this happened to now, I don't think he has done it again.
So you think? So you didn't? I know on the other show you said you didn't think that he had done it prior to. So you think this is the only incident in which he's committed this?
I think so. I think this was his first incident and his only incident so far. I don't think I'm saying that maybe he wouldn't do it again, because maybe he would, but I think he was waiting. I think he didn't do it because he knew that there was, that video of him, and I think in the back of his mind he was afraid. But I think if maybe there wouldn't have been a video, maybe he would have done it again.
Got you. So you think that video stopped him?
I think so. I think that video deep down had to be, kind of, they had a video in his voice. So
we have a $5 super chat. Cynthia Gaines asked, were the girls essayed or just taken? I never heard that they were assaulted sexually. I heard it was something to do with the snuff film. I from what I understand, there wasn't any evidence of an SA involved in this case.
Correct.
If that, so
not in the traditional sense.
Right,
Mhm,
right, right,
exactly.
right.
Yeah, not yeah. Don't forget that essay doesn't just mean the act. It
Right,
also can mean the way they were, the way he left her, everything. So it's it plays into the fantasy. So
right, right. And so this crime scene was described as being staged and the bodies being
Thank
moved.
you. I was just about to say that. Yeah.
No, no problem. Do you guys see that as he did this in broad daylight. He did this throughout the day. This is also in February where the trees are bare. There's not leaves. Granted, I'm sure it's going to make things very difficult. You're about a quarter mile away from the bridge itself. You probably can't see, but there would be a visible way of being able to see out there. Do you think that everything occurred within that time frame that the video was taken and maybe an hour and a half later that he left, or do you think that he returned later to the crime scene? Whoever wants to answer first. We'll start off with you, Sam.
Okay, that one does boggle my mind for the fact of, oh, you're going to put me up front again, huh, guys? Okay. All right. So that one does boggle my mind for the fact of, again, I deep dive into the helicopter footage, crime scene photos, which I've taken myself. I know that there's a bunch of bladed knife objects there. I can literally see the one that's in one of the I can see both of them actually that are in each of the victims. I can also see this big stuffed animal, whatever you want to call it. I can also see the guy that's taking pictures because this is obviously during when the crime scene tape is around the area and there's a crime scene investigator taking pictures. So what I'm always confused about myself is, how is there a larger than life piece of evidence there that the BG obviously doesn't have on him, but yet I know that there's multiple different things on the BG, but some of it doesn't equate to what, thank you. Some of it doesn't equate to what I'm seeing myself at the, oh yeah, hey Blue, how you doing? So yeah, so
we all have to make sure that we suck everything, the double chin up.
I don't know who did that. I don't know who did
that. So
you're showing a beer belly.
I'm glad that's all we saw.
That was funny. I'm sorry. So I'd rather see a close up of that than my face right there. To be honest. But so yeah, so I have this issue of the time frame that, and it doesn't mean that I'm right or wrong or whatever. It just means that I particularly have a hard time believing that in this small little time frame that all this staging was done, because I can, for myself, I know that for myself that there's cameras at that crime scene, that there's definitely bladed objects. Again, I have pictures to go with that, and that will be in my next video coming out to actually show you guys the crime scene and then show you guys the pictures that you can look at beside it to understand exactly where I'm showing you these images from, just to make it more visually correct on the people's eyes, because people are visual and they don't understand most times these blurry or enhanced photos. But if you put the crime scene area beside it and then can explain, it makes a big difference. But anyways, so that's my thought. I can't explain how some of these objects would have got there because they sure weren't on them on the bridge, but yet they're at the crime scene. And this crime scene was, two things were said. Well, a couple things were said, but Robert Ives said that there was so much physical evidence there that you would want to take a picture, that anyone would want to take a picture. Okay, there was so much physical evidence, which we've heard this all along about dolls and happy faces and different things. Whatever becomes true comes true. Hopefully we get to know one day, perhaps, forgot my second thing because my train of thought just went off. But so it just becomes about, to me, knowing that also someone that's close to the family had said that one of the items there was so big, there's no way that he could have had that item. Again, it just goes along with what I already know about that crime scene. And so I'm just hoping that one day we'll just know why did this happen? The crime scene was made to look in a different direction. Okay, so that means to me that, again, this is planned. This BG had the stuff on him. Do I believe it was targeted for Libby? Out of all things, I particularly do. And I believe that Abby was there, and she was like, wrong place, wrong time. I believe that Richard Allen, because he'd already seen some other girls, those could have been. I just think that he went there with a purpose, and the purpose was he knew. I'm sorry, another subscriber. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just think that he went there with a purpose, and the purpose was that he knew that the girls were going to be there, or at least Libby was, and he went there with a purpose. He was prepared. And why would you put yourself in that situation where you park near a CPS building, you let other people see you, and it's almost like you're on a V line, right, for, that bridge, and to do your thing, and then you start walking down the street being seen as muddy and bloody. Like, none of it really makes sense of someone that's, if you're trying not to get caught, that's not the way to go about doing things, for sure. I don't know. It seems kind of crazy to me that, and then to sit there and go, yep, I was on the bridge that day. Yep, I was wearing those things too. Just seems a little bit mad.
The one thing that bothers me about Muddy Bloody Guy is that the witness stated that they saw him on the north side of 300 County Road 300, right, which is on this side of the street, away from, I know this was wintertime and the trees were bare already, but he was on the opposite end. I find that if that were to be true, then he's just out in the open to be seen. It doesn't seem like it was well planned out, well thought out. I am 100% surprised that this guy took this long to catch him. Like, given the information that we have, given the information that he put himself out there, and if they would have looked at the the evidence is the way they're supposed to. Doug Carter comes out and says, people are going to say, why didn't you just do ABC instead of starting D, E, and F? And I think that's what he means. He should have gone towards the people that they assumed were, or that they knew or thought or had stated that they were on the bridge that day or in that location. Instead, they went down a rabbit hole with Ronald Logan and then Keegan Kline. But when it comes also to the tentacles thing that he's talking about, I think that has more to do with like a maze that has dead ends, where you're going down this path that you think is the right path, and then all of a sudden the rug gets pulled out of underneath of you. Those dead ends are Ronald Logan, possibly the Klines, because there is the thought there, right, where Keegan Kline was committing his own certain type of offenses, and those offenses resulted or were around the targeting of young females within a specific area. This isn't a heavily populated area, and so if he was targeting these girls at that age in this area, there's had it been Libby and Abby or Mary and Joanne or whoever, that this would have had occurred if they fit that criteria in which that Keegan Kline was targeting as far as just to receive pictures. He probably made contact with them too. And so, there's a lot of different girls that Keegan Kline was in contact with. And I think he even had made plans to meet up with that didn't occur. Nothing like this had occurred with the other girls that he was talking to. And he had at least 30 counts of, CP. You know what I'm saying? And so, is it possible that he was that these girls were victims of two different crimes from two different people? I think that there's the possibility there. Is it probable? Probably not. I think that would be a pretty big coincidence.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Just to ask you, Danielle, Google Pro has it where you can put it to 2017 and have the visual of that, how it actually looked that day. It was about 2 months after that Google Pro can go back to.
Right. Yeah, I've done that before. I got to pull it up.
Oh, okay. It's just, did you start it off on the greenery one?
Yeah, I just went to the regular Google because it
Okay.
allows me to put, my points, and it has everything already there.
Oh,
They
okay.
do have Google Pro, and I've been able to. The other thing is too that I don't like the ground view from Google Pro.
Ah,
It's not really a ground view, but you can actually, yeah, you're absolutely right. You can
correct.
see the private bridge. You can see how bare the trees are.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can.
No
try
big deal. I was gonna say because I always use that one myself because I always had a hard time when I was looking at the greenery one, which I started off with, and I was like, but yet you can't really see anything because everything's covered over.
Mhm.
Whereas on the Google, well, obviously if you know already.
Right. And yeah, it's
I'm
I've looked at it before. Let me.
Did Jaime go?
He stepped out for a second. He's still down
Oh,
there,
okay.
though. I still see him. Let me put a search real quick. But yeah, you're right, and you can see the private drive underneath. See, my thought was that when you look at this, let's see.
Should be gray hues, right, Austin?
Let me see if I can remember. Well, one thing you can see the private drive underneath right here that leads to this house here.
Yeah.
My thoughts, honestly, were, and I'm trying to remember. I don't remember how. It's been a long time since I've used this one. How to change back the date, but I thought that maybe perhaps he parked over here at the old CPS building because somebody was supposed to come down here. Maybe another partner was supposed to travel down here at a certain time. These girls ran. There's shoes that are found in and around the creek area that leads me to believe that they were being chased at that point, and that this was the scene based on where he caught them versus it being so much planned there. I saw that this private drive was accessible from the bridge from where Richard Allen told these girls to go down.
Daniel, your clock up top there on that clock looking thing that's two to the left from that right there, that allows you to change the timeline.
There
So
it
you
is.
can go to 2017. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So
there you go.
Yeah, you can see this bridge here. This is where the girls were told to go down the hill. It was at the end of this bridge. They would have had to have crossed this private drive to head that direction to where Ronald Logan's property is. That's the one thing that sort of bothers me about that is that, I thought, my opinion, just kind of looking at it from the surface, is that somebody was supposed to be down there and that these girls took off at this point. Whether it was Richard Allen's vehicle that was supposed to be parked down there or somebody else possibly involved in this CP ring that we had spoken about earlier. But yeah, it's a crazy situation. There's a lot of it's, in my opinion, I think that this case, just kind of saying, being honest here, I think this case is a lot stronger than Brian Kohberger's case. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the Richard Allen case is stronger or less or weaker?
Oh, really?
Than Brian Kohberger? Yeah. What do you think? We'll start off with you, Sunny. What do you think? Which case do you think is stronger?
Brian Kohberger's case.
What about you, Alexa? What do you think? Do you think that?
I think Brian's case, in my opinion, it might be. I think DNA wise and everything, I think might be stronger than this case, because this case, I am pretty sure there's no DNA, at least not a full profile. So I think that's the weakness of this case.
There might be
you, Aspen? Which case do you feel stronger?
I think in both cases they have the right guy, but I think that forensically, Delphi is just so convoluted. The last 5.5 years have opened up so many avenues for a defense attorney to poke holes in whatever story the prosecution paints. So I think that they have that against them, that they have, the fact that the case is older. But I think that Brian's case is probably stronger if I were, right now, I think that. but that my opinion might change when it comes closer to the trial dates.
Gotcha. So here are my thoughts and why I think that Brian Koberger's case isn't that strong. The only witness that puts him inside the house only can identify his eyebrows. His phone, although was off at the time of the commission of the incident, doesn't also either prove that he was at that residence either. How they got to him and even how they got the search warrant to get the pings on his phone are questionable. They went based off the fact that there was a white vehicle without a front license plate and that he matched the height, weight description with the bushy eyebrows that was seen from the witness inside the house. You're looking at the DNA on the sheath. It's a speck of DNA. If it's touch DNA, he's a criminal. He was in criminology classes. There's a number of ways that somebody could come out there and explain why his DNA was put on there. Maybe he can just say that he handled that sheath at one point as a demonstration or whatever the case may be. My thing against Brian Koberger or my issues with the case there is you have witness testimony that has changed. It's unreliable because she stated at one point that she was asleep throughout the entire time and then changed her story throughout the day to include that she saw somebody. You have phone pings that aren't that reliable. The probable cause affidavit puts holes in the phone pings. It talks about how he connected to a tower in Moscow when he wasn't there on the 14th. You have a vehicle that the only descriptor from that, from the, you don't have a license plate. All you have is the fact that it's missing a front license plate. And you have a big question for me. You have him at his house at 244 or 242, but then 2 miles away at 244. That tells me that there's at least a possibility, and at least the defense is going to say that there's two vehicles out there that are very similar. And if that other vehicle doesn't have a front license plate, then that puts another vehicle in the area without a front license plate. You have a pattern of him driving around without his phone being connected to a server. So after the incident had occurred, he's driving around, his phone gets turned off or is in airplane mode a couple of different times on a couple of different days. And so he can initially say at, certain points is like, hey, that's not the first time. That's not the only time that my phone was turned off throughout the time that I'd go for a drive. Maybe I like to go for a drive with the on airplane mode so I don't get bothered. And so those are things that are there, that are present in the case. You also have a bunch of kids that have entered the crime scene before they could establish a crime scene. And then you also have the police and their lack of scene preservation. There's pictures and images of police officers walking in and around and in and out of that building on the day of the incident, or the bodies that were discovered without booties on, without any kind of protection to protect their DNA from falling off and contaminating the crime scene. You have the possibility of the police utilizing pieces of the crime scene to secure the crime scene as far as the stools and the back doors. I mean, there's just a lot of mistakes. You have a bunch of cars parked in and around the area, contaminating any possible evidence that would be out there to show anything. I mean, there's just so much that's in the Brian Koberger case, in my opinion, that is a little bit concerning. Now, when it comes to Richard Allen, you have him putting himself out there. You have him on the scene. You have him describing what he was wearing as being what the bridge guy was wearing. You have a unspent round near the bodies. You have him admitting to being on the scene at the time of the incident and being out there for a couple of hours. And you have witnesses that were on the trail during those hours in which he stated he was on there that don't see him up until the point when the girls go missing, or after the point that the girls go missing. And so in my opinion, I think that there's a solid case on Richard Allen versus Brian Koberger, but that's just, my opinion.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Would your opinion change, you think, if you knew the forensic outcome of the hair that was found at Brian's apartment?
Yeah, I would. If it comes back that pieces of hair came back to one of the victims, then yeah, I think it's pretty solid. I won't deny that. However, you look at the evidence that was found out of his house, you have 8 pieces or 12 pieces of hair one of them being an animal hair. He hadn't lived in that apartment complex very long. And so, he'd only been there for a few weeks. Those are things you would expect to see if you go and look at the blood stains on his pillow, or what's described as blood stains on his pillow. He's moving from Pennsylvania to Idaho. This is fall.
Good point
it's
about
probably that. a lot drier. My anticipation is that he got some bloody noses. Big Blue, who is our medical, we call him our medical expert. He has talked about the time in which it took from Brian Koberger to commit this crime, and then the time that he is seen back in Pullman, Washington. Hour and a half later, that blood would have dried. It would have flaked. There would be blood flakes, not so much stains on his pillowcase, things of that nature. And so, yeah, of course, if there's some kind of smoking gun evidence that they don't, that they don't have, for sure, my opinion could change. Thing is, go ahead.
No, go finish it, and then I'll ask you a question.
Yeah, my thing is, I think that they got the right guy. I think that Brian Koberger is the right guy. But there's a difference between what you know and what you can prove.
Right.
And I'm concerned in that case where the evidence, and also not so much that, but the evidence that we have, how much of that is going to be usable in court, because the court and the defense team is going to have their opportunity to throw out evidence. And I think one of the major things that's going to be possibly thrown out are the cell phone pings, for two reasons. One, they talk about how reliable they are by him connecting. And two, I don't think they had enough evidence or enough preponderance of evidence to say that he committed this crime to get the search warrant. To get a search warrant, you have to say that at least 51%, that you have at least 51% reasonably that you would think that this person committed the crime, right? You have to have more evidence than not that this person committed this. And at that point, at that time of the investigation, based on what I've seen, all they had at that time was somebody stating that they saw somebody with bushy eyebrows and they have a white vehicle without a front license plate. In my opinion, that is not enough to get a warrant. I could be wrong. Maybe perhaps there's an articulation there by the prosecution that can come forth that could explain that there was more to this to get that. But if it is not, then you have a situation of fruit of the poisonous tree, where everything that was found out of an illegal search or seizure, because at the end of the day, we have our constitutional rights, even Brian Koberger, to not have not to be unlawfully searched in or seized. And that includes his phone records. And so those things can be thrown out. And, what do you have left? Just the DNA on the sheath? If you don't have hair, if you don't have any of those things come back to him. Now, go ahead. I'm not sure who was talking. Somebody's.
No, sorry, Daniel. That's what I was going to ask you, because we know that an affidavit is only enough to get the search warrant. And we know that there's more beyond that the public doesn't see. So knowing that there's a vehicle, his computer, all that stuff in his apartment, and much more things to come. So are you just kind of basing it on what you're seeing now versus what we haven't seen yet, knowing that an affidavit, because obviously you worked in law enforcement for 5 years. So, right. I mean, obviously, like Alexa is a profiler, handwriting expert, body language expert. I take that, the fact, of course, that you have more experience at what you're seeing versus what I do. But I also know many times it's been said what's in the affidavit is just what needs to be put out there to get the search warrant versus what we see. So with the Brian Koberger case, knowing that the vehicle that.
You see, here's the thing about the probable cause affidavit. There's a lot of stuff in there that doesn't need to be in there. You know what I'm saying? And so that tells me if they're putting that much information in there, it's probably about 85% of what they have. Is there going to be some stuff that they're not telling us, they're holding close to the vest or not putting out there in the probable cause affidavit? For sure, 100%. Now, is it going to be a smoking gun type of thing that they're withholding? Probably not. The job of the prosecution is to close out this case with somebody that has either been proven to be guilty or that admitted guilt. And so they're not going to go in there holding their aces until, the possibility of trial. They're going to go in there with as much information as they possibly have to make somebody say, all right, I don't have a choice and I'm going to plea out on this. Right. And thank you so much, Cynthia Gaines, for your $5 super chat. We really do appreciate that. You look at the fact that it talks about him going to Albertsons the next day. It talks about him, traveling and doing all this stuff and turning off his phone. So what? What did you find? Now, it's one thing if you went out there, you found a knife, you found a weapon, you found shoes, you found clothes, you found something while he was out there in that creek, in that river, in all those things.
Mm-hmm. But also, I'm sorry.
If he did, it would be there. If you know what I'm saying. So why is that information in the probable cause affidavit?
Yes and no, because again, like Richard Allen, all the DNA hasn't come back yet. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but again, they didn't have the car when they wrote this. They didn't have the car yet.
No, I get that, but what is in Richard Allen's probable cause affidavit that doesn't need to be in there?
I mean,
Everything that's in Richard Allen's probable cause affidavit is important to the case. Right. Not saying that what is in Brian Kohlberger's affidavit isn't important to the case, but it doesn't all lead up to the reason for the arrest. You going into him going to Idaho, Johnson, Idaho. Yeah. So what? What's the point? Did you
I understand.
They
should have filtered more. They wrote things that they shouldn't have been there. I get it, but I do believe, and trust me, I think we'll be speaking Monday. When everything comes out, that I do believe he had to leave DNA, especially the way that this taking the life that he took the life of these 4 people. I'm sure there has to be more DNA. There's no way there's no DNA.
I agree 100% with you. I agree there has to be more. My thing is, I don't know if there is or not. If it comes back that they found, blood residue or blood DNA of one of the victims inside the car, man, you got this guy. It's a closed, shut deal. It is a slam dunk case. Mm-hmm. I'm concerned with the fact that they didn't find a lot of stuff in Brian Kohlberger's apartment complex. Stuff that you wouldn't expect to find out of somebody who lived in a complex that has a lot of turnover. This is a college town. A lot of people live there. Is it possible that, somebody lived there prior to Brian Kohlberger and or had a visitor that had blonde, long hair I'm assuming that's what they picked up because they're using it as evidence that it was hair that could have been one of the victims. They're not going to pick up the hair if it's, a curly, short, black hair.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I'm sure it's going to come out.
Maybe Ethan's.
No one ever should.
Yeah. And so, it would be evidence that they would find that would somewhat have to tie into the whole case. For instance, none of them had green hair. And so if they had green hair, it wouldn't be used. You know what I'm saying? It'd have to be hair that would at least indicate that as a possibility came from one of the victims or the dog that was inside the house.
Well, we don't know yet because we don't know the DNA of the dog, or, the hair that was found. So hopefully, there's something solid. And I'm pretty sure, I am honestly very positive that I think they will find DNA, especially in the car. I think the car is probably the one that I would look at the most. I think
if they don't, what are your thoughts if they don't?
Good question.
My God. I mean, if they don't, I would have to look at the whole case. But I am pretty sure I am positive that they will find DNA.
I agree. They have to. If they don't, that throws a fork into.
Well, not specifically, because then you can go into, he is a smart person. He is a criminology PhD student. So in a way, we can say that he knows the backings of, how to commit the perfect crime. He probably took the steps, he knew that, he couldn't let blood here because, the luminol, he knew that, the splatters, maybe he killed with the wrong, or he unalived the person with the wrong hand because he knew that, then they can't say that he's right-handed by the blood splatters. So
right. No, I completely agree. The only thing that I guess kind of worries me a little bit about it is you look at at what was taken out of the trash that was used to tie Koberger's dad. Also, there wasn't anything in the trash that would indicate that he was cleaning up blood or evidence.
But he was throwing it in the neighbors, right? I mean, he wasn't throwing his trash in why? And that would question because I throw my stuff today is garbage day, so I picked it up and I put it in my why would I put it in my neighbors? So that's the one thing that you go, why?
I agree, but what did you find in it? Did you find blood? Did you find chemicals that would be utilized or used?
I honestly think that during the whole trip that he took, I think he probably disposed of things during that trip. I think that's probably where he got rid of things.
I mean, it's possible. It's also possible while he was out in the mountains for like 7 hours or whatnot.
I'd be looking in Johnson, Idaho.
Yeah, and somewhere in those areas, there's that possibility that he discarded those items, but those items would have gone in his car at one point after the incident, bloodied up, full of evidence, full of DNA. In my opinion, there has to be something in the car. If there's not, then that opens up a can of worms, in my opinion.
Right.
It really does.
We don't have to go there. I'm really hoping I don't have to go there.
Because even if he covered the seats, and even if he took precautions, I don't think that we'll have been something at the bottom of those shoes. Sorry, Sonny.
What were you saying, Sonny?
Go ahead.
Yeah, and so
by the way.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we need to. We're getting them back on the show, publicly buzzed here pretty soon. They also weren't feeling too good this past week.
We could do a whole nother 2 hours about Idaho.
Yeah, I heard you guys are having murder.
Yeah, we're supposed to have Murder Sheet on. We've reached out to them. They reached back. They said, "Yeah, we're just trying to figure out a date."
Right. Nice.
But we're looking forward to that. So please make sure you like and subscribe, y'all, so you don't miss that. And also make sure you guys follow and like and subscribe to a criming a shame. Hold on, I have it up here. Give me a second.
It's a criming shame.
It's a criming shame. No, I know that. I pulled up y'all's page. I pulled up. It's a criming shame. I'm sorry. There it is. I pulled it up so that way, if you guys, she's at they're at 6.81. Yeah. Let's go over there to their channel. Let's give them some subs. Let's try to get them over 7K.
6.82 now.
6.82. Let's get them over 7K. Let them know that Drunk Turkey Show sent you out there. Let's see.
Thank you.
Yes, we would love to get over 7K. Absolutely.
10 preferably.
You guys,
you guys
enjoy listening to a Delphi case? Yeah. Yeah, the Delphi case, Idaho case. Plus, we're starting to talk about more other things. But, yeah.
Sounds awesome. Awesome.
My husband in this middle.
Yeah.
Wait, those are the
I saw
videos.
that. And so these are some of the videos that they put out there. Good stuff. Great entertainment.
But,
go ahead.
Anyways, thank you very much, guys, for everything. So appreciation, we want to say from It's a Criming Shame to all the people that have subbed from, when you joined us last week and that, and we went up a few hundred subscribers there. That so very nice, because I see that there's a lot of names that were in your chat. Like I see a lot of people from our chat in your chat today, just like last week there was names that I hadn't seen before. So it's kind of funny. Like I said, I hadn't heard of Drunk Turkey Show up until it hit my feed about a few weeks ago. There's so many channels out there I've probably never heard of. But anyway, so there's a lot of people in here that I've never seen their names before. So again, nice to bump into you guys, run into you guys, and do again the live with us last week, and then we're here today to, of course, talk about the same thing. We thoroughly enjoyed the live last week, just so you know, of course. And Blue was doing his disappearing act there, in and out again. It was a magic show. Yeah, right, Blue.
He's big Blue. Sometimes he's gone Blue.
Yeah. I want to say it's my StreamYard, because anytime I open it on my laptop, it just crashes.
Yeah. We're getting some new equipment, y'all. We promise we're getting some new equipment for the guys, and we'll be putting on a show a little bit more appropriate without the drops. But we go ahead, Blue.
I'm already shopping around for laptops or desktops. I'm trying to decide what I'm going to jump onto next. Trying to stop these disappearing acts from happening.
Yeah. And so
I know, poor thing. It's frustrating, isn't it? I'm sure.
So frustrating.
It can be.
I literally almost put my laptop through the wall today. So,
hey, I'm on my iPad.
yeah, it works. I mean, I use quite a few screens and stuff, but it's like for me when I got started, I used to be in music, and so me and my buddies, I had some friends who were in music, and I actually had a lot of equipment here to do a recording, to have a band come in, and I got out of that a couple of years back, and so I had all the equipment here. That's why I have like this microphone here is actually a recording microphone for singing in the studio.
Oh, look
and
at
so
you go.
yeah, it's a little bit different, but I put it all together so we could do the show. I was like, man, I got all this crap here. I need to put it to use. We did. But yeah, like I said, just we'll definitely have you guys back on. We'll talk about the Idaho incident in Moscow.
It'd be fun.
Like I said, I feel that they got the right guy. I think they got the right guy in both situations, where it's in Moscow or in Delphi. I think that one case is a little bit stronger than the other. There's less loose ends, in my opinion. You have, to me, it kind of paints a pretty clear picture of who was there, when they were there, what they were wearing, witnesses' testimony that are corroborating a lot of that information. And in Brian Koberger's, you have a little bit more of a mixed bag, in my opinion. But we've gone over 2 hours. That's a little bit longer than what we normally do. We appreciate everybody that's joined, everybody that's in the live chat.
We can go longer.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But so just to kind of give everybody
3 and 4 hours easily.
No, we can run to the other channel.
Yeah, exactly. If you guys have any plugs, want to let everybody know where they can find you and all that other stuff, and let us know. We'll start off with you, Sonny. Send your last words out.
Oh, there we go again. Pull me back with you guys. I hate being the so I'll probably tomorrow I'll be dropping the Abby and Libby crime scene to again. If you guys do enjoy, you know what? Let me just put it this way: the It's a Criming Shame channel is all about truth and being just honest, and that's about it. We just really want to bring awareness to the missing and the unsolved cases. It's straight from the heart that we do any of this. It's the same as you guys. We just have a channel that you care a lot about these cases here watching today, and that's why we are here doing this today. But we decided that we were going to become creators and do it a different way. So if you enjoy the It's a Criming Shame show, or don't even know about us, just check us out. Oh, there's a subscriber. What you gonna do? There you go. Anyways, that's our plug, unless anyone has it. And again, I just want to say to Drunk Turkey Show, you guys are great, but I can tell that you're just laid back, easygoing, but are here to do the same thing, bring awareness, and and with success, being genuine and honest, and just being transparent. Right. You're not trying to, make fluff. You're just trying to bring out some facts that are coming along and care about cases, and it's your business too.
I appreciate that. Yes, yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, we definitely are trying to just be just us at the end of the day. We're not trying to be anybody else. It's just me, Blue, and Jaime. And we do more than just true crime. We do, we talked about conspiracies with aliens and UFOs and government, things of that nature. And so we appreciate that. What about you, Alexa? Anything that you want to plug in?
No, I mean, no, I mean, hopefully, next time we can have a little bit more time to give a little bit. We'd like to speak more on the background of, of the S case or the case. I guess, because when we speak about this case, it's sometimes most people, the average person, doesn't understand. And there's a lot of things that you don't understand. So I would like to maybe give a little bit of background next time, hopefully. And, give you a little bit of more like a profile. Why do people or the case or the S case do the things that they do? Because everything can be accounted and explained a little bit more. So, hopefully next time we have a little bit of time and we can do a little bit, we can speak more about, the type of SK or case that particular, whoever it is. So, but anyway, thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Sunny and Adam, for tagging me along. And thank you guys for having me. I truly appreciate it. Like I said, I really enjoy coming here. And, it's been really nice. I follow you guys. I follow you for almost a month. Like a month. Yeah, like about a month. And I remember one of the first videos I saw was Jaime's security camera with the entity. So yeah. And I saw the UFO videos and everything. So very, very interesting. So I really like you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, Jaime had a ghostly experience in his house, and he put up his trail cam, and he caught 3 images. One was him putting the trail cam up, and one was really nothing but a pink object in the bottom corner there. And then the third image it grasped was it was a dark shadow that didn't look like anything was creating that shadow. And so it was pretty crazy. It was a pretty crazy thing. So Aspen, what about you? Anything that you want to plug in? Last words.
Sunny, what were you saying? I think Sunny might have a little bit of a lag.
I was just going to say to Daniel, and I think there's a little bit,
You're breaking up a little bit.
Don't forget your channel, Adam.
Yes.
Sunny, I'm gonna. Okay. Thank you again, Daniel and Big Blue and Jaime for having us. Please, if you're not subscribed to It's a Crime and Shame, come over and check us out. I also have my own channel called Aspen Connor, and you'll see if you type it in, you should see this profile, and that's me. I really appreciate you guys, and thank you very much. That's all I got.
Appreciate you coming on. We appreciate all you guys being on and talking to us about this situation and bringing to light. I know that Richard Allen has he has an up and coming court date to figure out if he's going to get bail or not. Don't seem like he's going to, and so I don't think he should either. But I want to say thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for coming on. Please, guys, remember, go out to It's a Crime and Shame, follow, like, and subscribe them, and let them know that that we sent you. Big Blue, do you got any final words for everybody before we let everybody go?
Yeah. I just want to let everybody know. Thank you for coming on, guys. Thanks everybody for subscribing to their channel. Thanks everybody for subscribing to our channel. I want to tell everybody, we're not here every day. We're not going to be here every night. So just live your day like it's your last, have fun. Enjoy yourselves, guys.
For sure. And so with that being said, y'all, I'm Daniel J. I want to say thank you to everybody. Please hit that like and subscribe button. I'm sorry about that. Hey, you created that. You created that turkey. There it is. I want to say thank you for everybody who's liked and subscribed. Everybody who's been a part of the show and the channel. We'll be back on Wednesday night on a live. Me and Big Blue and Jaime might put out another video tomorrow. You don't want to check. You don't want to miss it. You want to check it out. So ring that notification bell. With that being said, everybody, appreciate everybody coming out here. Be safe tonight, y'all. Have a good night. Peace out.
Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe.
Cheers. You're welcome. Cheers, everybody. My StreamYard takes a while. I've already hit the end button, but